Hello, everyone, and welcome to a Wiz webinar, Protect Your Oracle Cloud Environment with Wiz. Our presenters here today are Jeff Shuey, Principal Product Manager at Oracle, and Oran Noah, Director of Product Management at Wiz. Just before we get started, we have many ways you can engage with us during today's webinar. If you have any questions, please go in the Q&A section in the right module and enter your question in the bottom bar. You can also find related Wiz and Oracle resources under the Docs section, or you can chat directly with a wizard using the chat function. We hope you enjoyed today's session. Welcome, Jeff and Oran. Thank you for joining me today.
Thank you, Soraya. Good morning and good afternoon, good night to everyone. My name is Jeff Shuey. I'm a Principal Product Manager at Oracle, and I'm excited here to be talking with Oran to talk about how we are collectively working with Oracle Cloud Infrastructure and Wiz to protect our customers around the world. A quick background on Oracle. Obviously, a lot of people know who Oracle is and what we do. Not a lot of people may be up to speed on what we're doing with the Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. And I won't go through every single point here, but there's the salient ones are right on the top. We've got 40 different regions active and enabled today. We've got data centers in 22 countries. And we've got what we call Cloud at Customer in 60 different countries. That's a case where an end customer can install their solution on Oracle Cloud resources, but fully controlled by the end customer. We also have dual regions so that customers that need the protection so that they can, if there's a outage, they can protect their workloads in different places. And finally, we've got something that we've done with Microsoft for the past 2 years, and that's called Azure Interconnect, where customers can run Oracle workloads or Azure workloads directly in their environment and be protected and secure and fast with low latency and all those things that go along with it. Over to you, Oran.
Thank you, Jeff. Hi, everyone. I'm Oran Noah. I'm a director in the product team from Wiz. So Wiz is the fast-growing SaaS company in history. Today, Wiz scans more than 1 billion files a day and raise more than $600 million. And we have more than 20% of the Fortune 500 is our customers. Okay. And we will walk you through today and some, basic things and advanced things that we do with Oracle and clouds in general to help our customers protect their clouds.
Okay, well, before we jump into a very specific scenario that happened a little while ago that actually drove a lot of efforts with Oracle and with Wiz, I want to give a quick background so people know a little bit more about what Wiz and Oracle are doing together. So end customers that want to get the Wiz solution can go to the Oracle Cloud Marketplace today and can install it and start using it today. So that's an important thing to make a note of. So if you're running Oracle workloads across really any of our products, so it could be ERP, could be supply chain, could be human capital management, all those solutions are also protected and also run on OCI Cloud, and the Wiz solution is available to protect those out of the box today. And the reason I want to mention that is Oracle has about 435,000 customers around the world and about 20,000 sellers. And one of the key reasons we've worked so well and so efficiently with the Wiz team is our sellers want solutions that their customers need to protect their workloads. And in that case, Wiz delivers. I want to shift over and talk a little bit about what prompted, I think, some of our initial conversations, and that is the Log4j issue that popped up, I don't know, a little while ago now, but it's persisted for quite a while. Oran, you want to talk about that a little bit?
So yeah, Jeff, the Log4Shell basically happened last December. It was a week before Christmas, when the Log4Shell, which is with a CV with a score 10, shocked the world. And basically many customers and many security people around, the globe ask themselves, where do I have Log4Shell in my environment, right? And obviously that sounds like a simple question, but obviously that is more complicated when you come to the cloud because there's many ways you can run software in the cloud, right? You can run it in a container, in a serverless, infrastructure as a code, platform as a code, and most customers have a multi-cloud strategy, right? And to understand what is your Log4Shell blueprint across your multi-clouds, that's become a very, very hard question to answer, right? And even so, assuming that right now, a CISO a week before Christmas identify 100,000 of log4shell packages that he need to patch. Which one of the asset he need to focus first, right? How the relevant teams in my organization can help fix the relevant vulnerable assets. Okay, those was like a very, very simple question back then, but unfortunately in the cloud there is no simple answer.
Let's talk a little bit more about visibility and how Wiz is playing in that space.
So if you take the example, of the log4shell, right? One of the things that you want to have is like full visibility in your environment, right? And the ways that Wiz is doing, we have our agentless approach. Okay, so we connect to your cloud environment and leveraging all the native APIs over there to show the entire visibility from every architect that you have over there, VM, serverless, Kubernetes, and etc. Okay, and we are basically an architect agnostic because we support many clouds and many native services. Also, something very important is like the seamless and fast installation. Okay, so for example, in Oracle, we are leveraging the stack in order if someone wants to install Wiz in his tenancy level and have visibility to the entire compartment that he has. Okay, so even if you provision more compartment, okay, the Wiz role that enable us to scan your environment will be installed automatically in environment, and that way you have full visibility. People cannot protect what they cannot see, but with Wiz, with our agentless scanning approach, every asset is visible and be able to identify risk in it.
Yep, and that makes sense. I mean, that's the big factor I find with Wiz is having agentless scanning. It makes it much, in some cases, a lot easier for end customers, and sometimes they don't realize the advantage that brings to them. So let's talk a little bit about workloads and control planes and data planes. And the next slide is pretty busy, but I think it's important to talk about all the areas where Wiz protects customers' environments. And it kind of jumps into the first point around agentless scanning, obviously. But also, I think one of the key elements, and this fits right into the Oracle message for certainly the last year, but and what people saw at Oracle Cloud World a few weeks ago about the whole idea of multi-cloud, and that the reality is customers will pick and choose the cloud that they need to address the workload. So whether they're running on Oracle, which of course we like, but also we realize some customers run Azure, some customers run Amazon. I think one huge advantage is that Wiz treats them all the same, and you can monitor, Wiz can monitor solutions no matter what platform they're running, so they can be cloud agnostic. So let's talk about that a little bit more. And I know I'm kind of teeing this up, but the idea is to talk about the data plane, talk about the control plane, and how Wiz offers flexibility depending on what the end customer wants or needs.
Yeah, so that's a good one, Jeff. So basically the way that we approach that is in Wiz, we connect to your entire cloud environment. So we have one connector, assuming for Oracle, another one you can have it in GCP, in Amazon, every cloud that you pick. Okay, the first thing that we do is connect to your native API and actually fetch information about all the data that is existing over there. So VMs and their configuration, backend their configuration, all of your network, Kubernetes, serverless, each one of the architecture and each one of the compute and all the cloud resources out there. So we call this native API and be able to have this visibility. Okay, and then we actually understand the entire picture of their configuration. Okay, and obviously what we are doing is modulating the entire world of cloud to our Wiz, let's say, module. So for example, a VM in Wiz can be a VM in Oracle, an instance in Amazon, okay, a virtual VM in Azure. Okay, so when a customer query things in the Wiz module, right, it's like a VM, a bucket, a network, and everything is being module to the relevant architecture. And this is why we're cloud architecture agnostic. We do all the translation behind the scene. So once we have this control plane, all this relevant API, then come the second part when we analyze the data. So we do, via the agentless approach, we do the disk scanning. So we scan your disk, find vulnerability, find secrets, find malware, understand what kind of technology is running over there. That's also for VMs, also for container registry to be able to connect with and serve this function. And we combine everything together, and that is giving us the full visibility and have customers have frictionless visibility because be able to see, the control plane and the data plane in one single place.
And obviously that's critical. That's the number one thing. I think that's the number one thing customers are asking for. They want to be able to see things in one place. And I think we're going to talk about noise in a few minutes, but I think they want to see things in one place, and they don't want to see a bunch of, I shouldn't say random alerts, but alerts that aren't critical. They want to stack rank and prioritize those. In fact, let's shift and talk about security. So I said we're going to talk about visibility, security, and agility. So let's shift and let's talk a little bit more about security. And I think one of those key elements is that developers don't want to see a lot of noise. IT ops people don't either. So can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah. So, in general, developer can really, really easily lose trust when they have a noisy environment, these noisy tools, and give it like this so many, false positives. So when a real situation, a real problem pop, people are being, very, I would say, doesn't give it the right priority. Let it put it this way, okay? And how you be able to gain this less noisy environment is to bring context and priorities to the right risk, right? And the way that we do that in Wiz, we can drill down it within a second, but I would like to explain a little bit more about, the native approach of like taking a look on misconfiguration, okay? So, when you take a look on this, in this platform, so for example, you can have a VM on a classic, CSPM tool that has a public IP, for example. But this VM sit under a load balancer, right? So a classic, CSPM tool will trigger an alert to say, yo, this VM has a public IP. But guess what? If you combine it with the cloud relevant context, okay, and this is the classic example, right? So this one, a VM has a public IP, right? But if you take a look on the relevant cloud, the entire cloud architecture, you will understand that this one is sit under a load balancer, right, or a gateway in that specific case, and it's actually is not exposed to the internet. Okay, so a classic native approach will trigger an alert on that, and it's not really alert. Okay, and I can give you another example from the other hand. Okay, so let's take a look on this specific example. Okay, assuming that you have a VM without a public IP, right? A classic CSPM tool will not trigger an alert because this VM doesn't have a public IP. But guess what? When you combine it to the real exposure and the real configuration in the cloud, you identify that this VM sits under a load balancer, and this load balancer actually give him an IP and expose him to the internet. Okay, so this is two examples of one noisy environment that trigger a false alarm, and from the other hand, a misconfiguration and a risk in your cloud that native approach will not be able to trigger. Okay, and the whole point of that with the new approach is like misconfiguration doesn't mean risk. It doesn't mean necessarily that you are in a risk, and that's caused like a noisy environment. Okay, and the way we handle that in Wiz is a little bit different. Okay, and I think in the next slide we'll be able to cover that. Okay, so the way we do that in Wiz is bringing context to everything. From one hand, we understand that you have a VM with a vulnerability, right? So we understand that this VM is a critical vulnerability, and this vulnerability was exploited. From the other hand, we also understand the inventory of this VM. So we understand that this VM, okay, actually sits in your production environment, okay? And for example, he's running a database, okay, or a web service. So we identify what is the technology running on this VM, right? We also be able to understand, oh, in this VM, he is also, someone put a secret on it. Over that, we also, put in the cloud context. So we understand his configuration. In this example, this VM is really exposed to the internet, right? Because we in Wiz, we're able to calculate the effective network exposure, okay? And also combine the identity. So we understand that when this VM, that someone put a secret within it, these secrets, I can access to a cloud identity, some IAM, that can have access to a sensitive bucket. Okay? And on top of those two, we also combine the business context. We also be able to understand, the tags over there in the environment. In this case, we understand that this VM is not just like a web server exposed to the internet with a critical vulnerability and a secret that can access to a critical bucket, but we also understand that this one sits in your production environment, and also the relevant business unit is your e-commerce application team, so you know who to reach to. Given this entire context, really empathize what is the real risk.
Yep, that makes perfect sense. I think the upside there, and we'll talk a little bit more about on the next slide, is from the agility part of the automation side. So that can be switched to the next slide, and I'll ask the question I was going to throw at you. It relates to, okay, so Wiz finds the threat, then what? I mean, can it connect to an ITOM system? Can it connect to an ITSM system? And does everything have to live in Wiz, or can you connect to other systems?
That's excellent point, and that's bring us to the agility point, right? So I'm bringing back the example of the Log4Shell. When you have those kind of big events, something really serious happen, how do you scale the security to the entire team, right? From development to production. And the way we believe that in Wiz is that cloud security is a partnership between the entire team in your organization. It's a partnership between your infrastructure team that identify, vulnerabilities and Log4Shell library, for example, right? And from the right hand, you're a cloud defender, the one that monitoring your cloud on a daily basis, the red team, the SOC team, okay? They understand that something serious has happened. And from the left side of the equation, the shift to the left, is your cloud builders, the one that actually, your DevOps team, your developer team, that actually need to fix this, okay? So if we bring back to the Log4Shell example, when you have thousands of things that you need to patch, and you need the entire synergy between all of this team, that's a tool need to provide an ability that all of this team be able to synergy together, okay, in order to have this agility and to scale your security from development to production. And the way that we actually do that in Wiz, and I think I can cover that in the next slide, okay, is that in Wiz, we believe that we democratize cloud security. Every team in the company, every cloud team in the company need to have access to Wiz, okay? Because when you have access to Wiz, everyone can see his relevant project, his relevant scope, okay? And be able to actually contribute and help secure their cloud. From the shift to the left strategy, you can integrate Wiz in your CLI, okay? And your CI/CD pipeline using the Wiz CLI. Okay, so we can connect to GitLab in a handful of those CI/CD pipeline tool, and help even prevent things from even going live. For example, if you connect with your CI/CD pipeline, you can say, I don't want to see any vulnerability, any critical vulnerability package. I don't want to ship it to production. Any IAM image that contain plain text secrets that also can prevent them from shipping live to production. From the other hand of the equation, we have, the infrastructure team that something is in production, right? So we talk about the full visibility, right? We see everything. We talk about how our security help you prioritize the risk, right? And from, when you want to patch things, when you want to fix things, we also have our, policy and auto remediation that can help you be proactive, okay? And you can also, we have a lot of integration that you can assign it to relevant ticketing system like Slack, Jira, ServiceNow, and another, SIEM and SOAR system. So we can integrate with those security tools also to enhance the collaboration, and everything being circled back also, to the entire circle. So each one of those, cloud teams will be able to use Wiz and enable them, to better enhance their cloud security and get to this agility that we always talks about, right? To scale it from development to production.
So if I heard that right, a customer can have and can use their existing investments. So if they've got Slack or ServiceNow or Jira or PagerDuty or whatever tools they're already using. They're not replacing them all with Wiz components. Wiz augments and adds to that. Is that right?
Yeah. I mean, that's like our approach. Okay, we continue always, to integrate with more and more, services. So when the customer has this environment, so for example, they have their, I don't know, Jira ticket or Slack system or whatever team is used to work on how to work with things. So we continue to integrate with that. But the whole point is that like everyone can have access with Wiz. We have a full RBAC abilities. Okay, we can segregate things into project, into teams within Wiz, and everyone can have access to the platform and see things by themselves, and not just like hearing from our cloud teams or our security team that we have a critical incident. With Wiz, to be able to click, go inside, see the evidence by themselves, and then the developer is being proactive because in Wiz they have access and be able to see this toxic combination, this context that we always talks about, and they can see it by themselves and also know it's coming to the relevant person in their organization, and he become very proactive when he actually see there's a risk and the problem that Wiz be able to find.
And I think that all makes perfect sense. I want to talk about something that isn't necessarily on the slides, but it's something that Wiz does behind the scenes, but it helps in customers. That is research. So I think I'm going to steal your quote, but you can say it again if you want to. I think you said security risks never sleep. So you can repeat it if you want. But I think one thing that is really important of how Wiz is building the product and also, of course, supporting customers and partners and platform providers like Oracle is the research that you do. Can you talk a little bit more about that and what research happens behind the scenes with your teams to make sure that as threats are detected, that they ideally don't get out into the world, but they are notified, the platform providers are notified, and of course, end customers are notified too?
Yeah, so that's a very good point, Joe. We have our the Wiz, the CNAP tool, and everything, but also we have our own security team that can help customers and helping customers on a daily basis get their cloud more secure. So those teams find vulnerability, find problems within native services running in the cloud. Okay, and when we find those, we be able to contact with the relevant cloud provider, work with them in able to help them make the cloud more secure. Okay, and our research team is also contribute to the entire security industry, the entire security community. Okay, and that can help us. Also, they help us always shape our toxic combination, the security and everything that we explained, before, how we do all this toxic combination, combine all the dots. Okay, that is something that our security graph is building, but our security team is continue to contribute to that, bringing more context to the table, manage to find more, problem with native services in the cloud or in any other packages, and working side by side with the cloud providers in order to fix that and help the cloud become more secure for our mutual customers.
Yeah, that's perfect. It's something I know our team. Obviously, nobody likes to hear about security vulnerabilities, but we want to hear about them from you so we can resolve them quickly. And I know there's more than a few stories, but there's one, I believe we solved it. It might be within less than 24, maybe less than a few hours, but there was a security risk that got resolved very, very quickly. So let's shift and talk about a real customer. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I just want to empathize. I mean, you bring up this example, and that's like what true partnership is all about, right? And that's like, we find something, you collaborate, with the cloud provider, with you in the specific case, and help really help the cloud become more secure, and that's like a win-win for everyone.
Yeah, and let's use that to shift right into a real customer example. Avery Dennison is using OCI, they're using Wiz, and it's helping them solve problems. I don't know if we need to talk much about it other than to say it's a real world example of how OCI is in production, Wiz is in production, and it's basically helping them solve real world business challenges.
Yeah, I think the good thing, the one thing that I really like about this this Avery quote over here, it's just like empathize everything that we talk about, right? So from one hand, the frictionless visibility. So they have full visibility to their OCI, right, environment, see everything. One hand, on the other hand, they have the security. right? So they have this toxic combination, prioritize the risk based on what Wiz is showing them. And the other one is agility. They provide, everyone, their developer have access, everyone have access to Wiz and be able to become agile, right? And help everyone, expand their cloud security from development to production. And I think that's really, really summarized the three pillars that we talk about, the, visibility, security, and then agility.
Yep, makes sense. And that's a perfect segue into what is our last slide. I know this kind of summarizes it all up, but it's a good one because it basically talks about, just like you said, visibility, security, and agility. And it's that, and ultimately that's what we're going for. And customers, for the end customers and partners too, they're going to be deploying Wiz with their end customers. They want to make sure that, of course, everything's visible. Of course, the agentless scanning makes that possible. And from a security standpoint, of course, no company can afford to put their security at risk. So having a partner like Wiz is really helpful for our Oracle sellers and our Oracle customers. And of course, agility, making sure that they don't have to toss away tools that they're already used to using. If they're familiar with Slack, keep using Slack. If they use PagerDuty or ServiceNow, that's fine. It makes it very easy for end customers to use what they have and ideally get a better security posture out of it.
Yeah, totally agree on that.
Well, I think that's it for us. I mean, I think Soraya is going to come on and ask us some questions that have popped up. But
yes, definitely. Thank you. Thank you for introducing me back. I'm back. So now we're going to move to the Q&A section. So as a reminder, if you have any questions, please click the Q&A header on the top right module and enter your question in the bottom bar. And I'm going to start with just questions we're getting in here as you guys were talking. Jeff, traditional Oracle services and products, NetSuite, CX Suite, SaaS Suite, are they all supported? How is the support between all of the different products that Oracle has come out with or are moving to the cloud with?
So it's a good question. And the good news is Larry Ellison, our founder and chairman, has mandated that all Oracle products move to the cloud. I mean, it doesn't happen overnight, but it's something that he mandated a few years ago, and it's coming to fruition now, and it continues because the reality is, I think, like Aran mentioned, is security risks never sleep. So I think from a cloud perspective, as more solutions are pushed over to the cloud, there's going to be risks and challenges that need to be addressed. So to answer your question, the human capital management like Taleo, the supply chain management products, the ERP products like NetSuite, even the more traditional products like PeopleSoft and JD Edwards are being moved over if they haven't already been moved over to the cloud. And of course, the reality is all those workloads need to be protected. Right.
So as we talk about, why it is difficult to secure your cloud, to protect your cloud, now we're even Oracle's going to be bringing more into the cloud space, and we want to be able to make sure that things are protected and secure as that happens, as we move more workloads to the cloud. So that's great to hear that cloud journeys are kicking off. People are just going to be going to the cloud, but we're also, Oracle's also thinking, how do we protect as we move more product towards the cloud? So that's great to hear. And then I'll move on to Aran here. Let's talk about some system integrators. When a customer is deploying Wiz, can they work with an SI?
Yeah, so that's a very good one. I mean, installing Wiz is really, really, really simple. Everyone can install Wiz. Okay, if you have your own integrator, Wiz is leveraging the built-in services in Oracle. For example, we use in Stack, so we deploy that in Oracle support Terraform. So when you install the Wiz role, you can install it in your tenancy level that would automatically propagate to the entire tenant compartment level. Okay, and we have our document. It's really, really self-serve. Everyone can use it. Everyone can install it. By the way, installing Wiz in your entire tenancy level is it's minutes. Okay, you can install it less than 2 minutes in the entire tenancy.
Wow. So in 2 minutes, a customer can get set up and start seeing their environment, like not only the visibility, but can start taking action on issues that they're seeing, combinations that aren't working if they're publicly exposed to the internet, et cetera. You're saying in 2 minutes, a customer.
In 2 minutes, the installation. Yeah. In 2 minutes, the installation, and then, Wiz start to pull and query your environment, and you start getting those visibility. But the installation is, minutes in the installation.
Wow. And is that a benefit that comes out of the agentless? I want to just dig into the agentless a little bit here.
Yeah, so just like bear in mind that the way that we actually use and leveraging the native cloud services help us not dealing with going to every individual workload over there, install things, on the agent level. No, we do it, in the cloud level, install the relevant roles in order to get the right visibility, in order to leverage, the snapshot mechanism and everything that we need, the entire, native cloud services we need in order to get the customer the full visibility and the security and the agility that they need.
Thank you for humoring me on that, because I think that is a really big benefit, that to have cloud native tooling for cloud native products that are going to the cloud. It just, kind of makes sense there. Let's move on then to, I'll start with Jeff on this question, and then Eran, you can piggyback with your own answer here, is what should we expect from Oracle in the next 6, 12, 24 months? You've already given me a preview that, Jeff, that products are moving to the clouds. It's not overnight, but you guys are actively working to move some of your critical products to the cloud. Is there anything else that we can expect to see from Oracle or from the Wiz Oracle partnership?
Yeah, definitely. There's a whole lot coming. Some has just been announced at the Oracle Cloud Roll, which happened recently. But I mean, some of the big things, I mean, certainly from a product perspective, which I already talked about, but basically what's happening when you basically span public, hybrid, and public, hybrid, and private clouds, the reality is customers are sometimes picking and choosing bits and pieces of those. Like they might have a public component that it might be for payment systems or might be for HR systems. They might have more private stuff for various things. And you'll start to see more of that. And again, back to the whole point about multi-cloud. So the reality is, and our executive leadership realizes that customers are going to pick and choose the clouds and the systems that make sense for them and their business. And obviously we love it when they run on top of OCI, but the reality is customers, and as I mentioned, the Azure Interconnect, we basically built these 12 data centers, and there's more coming, where, so to your question, there are more of those coming where a customer doesn't have to pick and choose just to run Oracle workloads or just to run Azure workloads. They can run them together in highly secure, highly governed, very low latency environments. And then I think another important one, and this is more generic, but it's where a couple of things are happening. So more and more companies are starting to offload their tasks. They still want to maintain security and protection, but things like high performance computing. So automobile manufacturers is a very big one where they do finite element analysis. And they traditionally did these on their own servers in-house, but now they're jobbing those things out to platforms like Oracle. So crash analysis, things like that. But the other ones that are really big are the whole AI and artificial intelligence and machine learning, where they're incredibly expensive to operate, and they also are very energy intensive. And when they can offload those tasks to a cloud provider like Oracle with our OCI platform, it makes it better, faster, and cheaper for them. And then finally, the last one in that area is the whole IoT and 5G. So Internet of Things, where the reality is things like city, states, and governments, and obviously manufacturing firms too, are taking in petabytes and zettabytes of data every day. And there was a stat I just heard the other day, and I'm going to get it wrong, but it was companies like big retailers like Walmart are taking in something like a zettabyte of data every 24 hours that they have to process. And maybe a more practical real world example is a city, state, or government that has and I'll call it an Internet of Things. Maybe a police officer has a camera and it's capturing data, and that data has to be, number one, captured in somewhat real time, but it also has to be anonymized before they can share it with the public. So things like that have to happen in real time. And 5G, of course, is becoming quite pervasive, where the solution's running over a 5G network. So my point of all that is there's a lot of stuff coming. And those are more horizontal in nature, because you could have an ERP solution that might need HPC, or it might be running over 5G, but that data needs to be, number one, captured. So you need a cloud to capture that, whether it's public, private, or hybrid, to capture it. Then they want to process it. So if they have to de-anonymize or anonymize data, they want to make sure they can share that. And then finally, they have to make sure that all security protocols are checked and managed. And within all of that, so from where Wiz certainly plays a real critical role and where you're going to see more from us together is as more and more customers start to expand their workloads, they, of course, obviously want to protect those workloads. And you'll start to see more, not just features and functions, but capabilities and both horizontal and vertical solutions that come out of our partnership.
Ron, does this resonate as what you're seeing as well? For Wiz, it's different. I know than some of the Oracle things that we're being working on. But why don't you give us a little bit of insight on what Wiz is looking? What do you expect to see from Wiz?
So we have our so many things that we would like to continue doing, and I think on top of everything is continue help our customers with their cloud journey. Okay, so the more customer is advanced in the cloud journey, the more Wiz will able to help them. So we'll be able to expand to more and more services, protect more and more services, protect more and more this toxic combination and advanced situation and advanced scenario. Okay, for example, in Oracle situation, when we onboard Oracle, we identified that customer is using bare metal. Okay, the bare metal, and we support that. Okay, so we continue to listen to our customers, understand what is their pain, okay, what is the thing that they need, and in each one of the vertical that we mentioned, in network we have a lot of things that we want to cover, and we continue to enhance over there. Same goes into our identity and management area, and it's really we have many things in our backlog, in our roadmap this year, but all the time we continue to listen to our customers and help them make the cloud be more secure.
What a nice bow to end our conversation today. Thank you guys so much. Unfortunately, that is all the time we have today. And we'll make sure to reach out to any and all of those whose questions we did not get to. So don't worry, we will reach out to you. And of course, feel free to check out wiz.io for additional information. And I believe the same with Jeff would say the same for oracle.com. Check out the websites if you want to hear more. And if you want to connect with Ron and Jeff, there's a speaker tab right there on the top. Click the speaker tabs. There's the LinkedIn profiles are set there so that you can go and connect with them if you want to learn more. Thank you guys so much for joining me today. And I hope everybody and you guys have a great day.
Thank you, Jeff. Bye, everyone.
Thanks for having me. It was fantastic.
Great. Thank
you so much. Have a good one. Bye-bye.